Hello to you, I'm Lucy Verasamy. I'm the ITV National Weather Presenter. I've just come off air after doing my lunchtime news with Alistair Stewart, and I'm here with you today to talk about the wintry weather that's going to affect us in the next day or so. Our first sleet and snow of the season for many of us so far. Not for all of us, not everywhere's going to see a dusting of the white stuff, but a few flakes for many locations I think before the end of this week.
So Lucy, a lot of people are talking about thunder snow. Can you tell us a little bit more about what this is?
Well, thunder snow seems to be the latest buzzword. My Twitter feed was full of this expression as I woke up this morning. We've seen thunder snow reported across northern Scotland in the last 24 hours, both yesterday and last night. It's not unusual, it's not uncommon, but you don't hear very much about it. Like I said, it's a buzzword. It sounds like a superhero name, thunder snow. It's a bit like jet stream or polar vortex is the latest word, if you like. But most simply, it's a thunderstorm when it's cold enough to snow, and it's more likely across northern and northwestern Scotland because up here they're more exposed to much colder air masses, much colder air, and also the instability of the air is much greater than you get in other parts of the country. So to see this phenomenon such as thunder snow, you're more likely to see it in parts of northwestern Scotland, northern Scotland, but it's not reported very much because it's not as densely populated up there. It's not seen by as many people. But if you want to have a look online, have a look at YouTube because there's some great images, there's some great footage of thunder snow in the States. If you type in Jim Cantor, Cantor, he's a brilliant Weather Channel weatherman, and it looks incredible. It lights up the sky, the snow is falling like mad. It really is quite something. It's a shame we don't see it here more often.
Are we going to see snow settle this evening, and if so, where?
Oh, the magic question. Well, already parts of Scotland have seen a few centimetres of snow in the last 24 hours. No surprises there. Topping up the ski resorts in Cairngorm and places like that. They're more than happy, I should think. There's also been some snow across the highest ground of Northern Ireland, Northern England. We've seen a little sleet and snow across the highest ground of Wales and the West Midlands in the last few hours. And we've got an awful amount of rain across the southern half of Britain as I speak. Quite blustery, wet conditions, solid, substantial rain, really horrible out there. Much colder air than we've had in the last few days, feeling bitter if you're heading out and about. And as much colder air sinks in behind this rain, some of that rain could turn to sleety snow as it moves through the southeast, parts of the East Midlands and East Anglia through the latter stages of this afternoon and through this evening. And it could well be slushy rather than fluffy, especially in urban areas where we've seen the wet weather today. Any slushy, sleety snow will simply disintegrate as it hits those wet surfaces, those pavements and those roads. But across highest ground, across the Chilterns, across the Downs, we could see a few centimetres of snow before the evening or the night's out.
Are we going to see more snow tomorrow?
Well, actually, some of us might wake up to a dusting of snow rather than going to bed and seeing it tonight, because we've got much colder air with us, as I mentioned. Temperatures sliding after dark. We're going to see widespread sharp frost, widespread black ice. There's a warning out for ice actually tonight, as any slushy snow, any existing snow across the north, any slushy bits and pieces across the south will simply freeze as temperatures drop below freezing point. So that'll be an issue into tomorrow morning. And we're going to see further sleet and snow across parts of Scotland, parts of eastern England, particularly across the northeast through the Pennines, through parts of Yorkshire, into parts of Lincolnshire as well, and also a few flurries of rain, sleet and snow into parts of the West Country and Wales. So those sort of areas, those extreme western and eastern spots, could wake up to a light dusting of snow tomorrow morning, especially if you live anywhere near any hilltops.
Laura Hughes is asking, will it snow more next week?
Well, early indications show, and this is just a gist at the moment, I must stress this, it's not a given by any means. We've been watching this snow like a hawk the last few days. Snow is notoriously hard to predict. It takes half a degree in the atmosphere to make the difference between rain, sleet and snow. It really is an exact science, and it's very tricky to monitor on an island like ours with so many microclimates. We've got hills, mountains, coasts and everything else, but it looks like we keep the cold air into the weekend initially, and then there's going to be a brief milder respite into Sunday, Monday, and then next week we get another feed of much colder air, this time from Eastern Europe. So there is the chance of some sleet and snow across eastern areas next week, but it is just a risk at this stage. We'll keep you posted.
How cold is it going to get tonight?
Freezing, frosty, icy, you name it. Temperatures are plunging. We actually had one of the coldest nights of the winter so far last week. We saw lows of -8 in Oxfordshire. Tonight we could see -8, -9 across parts of Scotland, especially where we've got the existing snow, maybe -5, -6 across parts of northern England. And even in urban areas, in the towns and the cities, temperatures dropping below freezing. So a risk of the sleet and snow, or any water, any lying water from the rain today, simply freezing and turning icy, very slippery into tomorrow morning.
A topic close to your heart from Sean Watson. Any tips for Warwick and Kempton Park on Saturday, Lucy? Is it going to snow in Carlisle at any point soon?
Oh, Warwick, yes. ITV Racing are live at Warwick on Saturday. They've been plagued by very heavy rain on New Year's Day so far and fog at Wincanton last weekend. This weekend is going to be a frosty start, a chance of frozen ground first thing. Temperatures could start off as low as -1, -2 in Warwick. I think they're at Kempton Park as well, and it's a similar situation there, but nowhere near as that, as bad as you could expect it to be this time of year. It's not looking like clear blue skies, I must say, for racing this weekend, and it is going to feel bitterly cold, but there could be a fair amount of cloud and many areas should stay dry. That's the good news, so there should be plenty of racing. As for Carlisle, well, anywhere up there is prone to some sleet and snow in the coming few hours. We could see some of that snow settle across the highest ground, feeling bitterly cold as that Arctic air moves in, barely above freezing today. So the sleet and snow risk really quite high across Cumbria in the coming 48 hours or so.
Catherine Longston saying, hi Lucy, will there be any snow in Bridlington?
Bridlington, there is a chance of some rain, sleet and snow moving through tonight. It could well be a wintry mix in Bridlington itself. Definitely feeling bitterly cold tonight, freezing tomorrow morning, frosty, icy. And as I mentioned, if you don't see much in the way of sleet and snow in the next 24 hours or so, there's the chance of seeing some sleet and snow come this time next week when we go into an easterly. Bridlington is exposed to those easterly winds, so watch this space.
Similar question, but further south. Christine Lang, any snow in East London, please?
It's going to be slushy rather than fluffy. That's my tagline for parts of the southeast who are going to see that rain today turn to sleet and snow just in time for the commute home from work. I think East London might just about see a bit of slush. I don't think there's going to be enough to build a snowman or have a snowball fight, unfortunately. Not this time anyway.
Gary McGowan, any more snow for Scotland?
Yes, lots of snow for Scotland. Thunder snow, brisk, biting winds, freezing cold. But the Scots are quite used to it. They're much more prepared than us down south, I think. Yeah, further snow expected across parts of Scotland. Blowing snow and blizzard-like conditions across the highest routes. Nowhere near as windy as it was yesterday, but bitterly cold, barely above freezing today. And widespread frost, ice, and more snow tonight.
Andrew Warburton, why does it not snow in December anymore?
Actually, I've got an interesting stat there. It's more likely to snow at Easter than Christmas. We're more likely, statistically, to see snow in April, especially, or the end of March, especially if we've got an early Easter, than we would at Christmas. And actually, that sort of rings true. We haven't had a snowy Christmas since 2010, I think. And I think we have this preconception that we should have a snowy Christmas because of Christmas cards, but they came about in the Victorian era when we were coming out of a mini ice age. So the climate was much different then. It was much colder. The Thames regularly was frozen that time of year. It regularly froze over, and the climate was just much colder. So we saw much more in the way of regular snowfall. And that's what's depicted by Christmas cards, if you like, and snowy scenes around that sort of era. So we are more likely to get snow in spring rather than December. And actually last year we had one of the mildest Decembers and Januaries on record, and we actually saw snow at the end of April, which we hadn't seen snow that late in the season since 1985. Snow is most likely in January than any other month of the year. So this year it seems to be going to plan a little more.
Mary Bosworth asks, what's the temperature going to be in Paint and Devon, and is this rain ever going to stop?
Epic amounts of rain in Devon today. It's a deluge. I don't envy anyone on those southern fringes today. It's really solid, substantial rain. It's really horrible. Yes, as that moves through, it will clear a little later today, I promise you. Eventually, it might not seem that way at the moment. It's absolutely pouring in many places. But as that rain moves away, temperatures are going to tumble. So much colder than it has been of late. We've had temperatures miles above the norm for the time of year the last day or so. Bit of a shock to the system, I think, this evening and tonight. Bitterly cold. You have to wrap up warm if you're heading out and about. And the frost, the ice developing tonight. And from all that rain today, that could freeze over. So a chance of it being slippy in some places tomorrow morning. So bear that in mind. But luckily, it's looking beautifully clear and crisp. But tomorrow will look like a stunning day in comparison. Beautifully bright, sparkly sunshine, but bitterly cold. So in 24 hours time, you'll feel so much better, I think.
Lynn Biddle, is it going to snow in Cambridgeshire?
Is it going to snow in Cambridgeshire? They've got a risk of some of this. Cambridgeshire itself are going to see this rain that we've got today. It's probably pouring with you already, and that rain's going to turn increasingly wintry. A chance of some sleety snow developing as it moves away through the latter stages of this afternoon and this evening, probably after dark through parts of Cambridgeshire. And then tonight, turning much colder, the frost, the ice, an issue here like it is across many parts of the country. And then tomorrow it's looking clear and crisp, a bit like I just mentioned for Devon, a beautiful day. We'll wonder what all the fuss is about. Sparkly sunshine, beautifully bright, full-blown blue skies, but bitterly cold. That's the trade-off. I don't mind being cold if it's sunny. I don't know about anyone else. And then after a brief, milder interlude through the latter stages of the weekend and early next week, I think the eastern side of England, including Cambridgeshire, will have a risk of some sleet and some snow come this time next week. But as I said, watch this space because details on that could change between then and now.
Are we going to see any snow in Oxford? From Michael Long.
Oxford's got a good chance of seeing some sleety snow, I think. I mean, it's pouring with rain today. It's horrible, as it is across much of southern Britain. No easy way to say it. It is horrible. I'm just fed up as everybody else. I've got to go out and get lunch and get soaked like everybody else. With the higher ground in Oxfordshire, there's a chance of that rain turning to sleety snow in places before the end of today. After dark, it should have moved away, and then we've got the risk of frost and ice. Tomorrow, so much better, so much brighter, clear, crisp. There's plenty of sunshine. What a difference a day will make. But yeah, the sleet and snow risk is fairly moderate for parts of Oxfordshire. As I mentioned, across the higher streets, you've got quite a lot of higher ground across that county. So the wintriness could be a bit of an issue, I think, across some of the highest routes. It's been well predicted, so everything should be gritted and everything else, but it might look quite pretty come tomorrow morning if you've got a dusting of snow. And the sun should be out and the sky should be blue. What more can you want? It's just a shame about the temperatures being so low.
Got a question here about seasons. Do you think the seasons are starting later?
I think we need to expect the unexpected when it comes to our seasons. I think we've got in our heads that we have defined seasons like the States. We have a hot summer, we have a cold winter. It doesn't work like that in the UK. We don't have predefined seasons. We don't have super hot summers and super cold winters. Things don't often go to plan. Like I mentioned a little earlier, we can have snow at Easter at the end or in the middle of spring, which we did have some snow at the end of April last year. And then last year, December and January were milder than most of spring. Well, the mildest December and January's on record in places. So things don't often go to plan, especially with our setup, our weather setup in the UK. It keeps us weather forecasters, us weather presenters on our toes. No 2 days are ever the same. The summer you're prone to huge epic thunderstorms. Thunderstorms can produce hail, so when you get those sorts of scenarios in the summer, everyone's just like, what's going on with the weather? So I don't think the seasons are necessarily getting earlier or later. I just don't think things go to plan, and it's almost a surprise if they do.
Stephen Forty is actually asking if there's going to be any risk of flooding.
I should think so with this rain today. I mean, it's really quite heavy rain. We had some really heavy rain on Monday as well across many locations. By last weekend, we'd had more rain in some parts of the country for the whole of January than the whole of December. December was remarkably dry. We've now seen a good deal of rain just into the first 10 days, 10, 11 days of the new year. And with the heaviness of that rain and the persistence of that rain in places today, there probably is a chance of standing water and some local flooding issues across some parts of the south who have had most of that rain today. And like I said, where we've got that standing water, the risk is that it's going to freeze in places in the next 12 hours or so. Tonight those temperatures fall away. But it is a much drier day tomorrow, and there's not much notable rain in the forecast the next day or so. That's the good news.
So final question, Lucy, from Roland De Silva. What temperature should we expect in London over the weekend?
Saturday is looking much colder than Sunday. Sunday temperatures tend to try and recover a little bit, but the end of the week and Saturday are looking terribly cold. We've got this cold Arctic air. We had cold Arctic air as recently as last week. We've just got a lot more moisture in this Arctic air this time, and that's bringing the risk of sleet and snow. Much of it rain at the moment, and much of it will stay as rain in places and won't turn sleet and snow. I must admit that it's not looking snowy and wintry everywhere by any stretch of the imagination, but things could change by this time next week. But yes, after temperatures recover Sunday into Monday, they then could plunge again come the middle of next week as we go into an easterly airstream from the near continent. So that's it from me. I think I've answered most of your weather questions. Hopefully I've made things just a little clearer. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learnt some new facts, some new interesting information along the way. I'll see you with our evening weather bulletin at 6:50. And if you've enjoyed this Facebook chat, do go to our Facebook page and give us a thumbs up. We'd love to hear from you. See you soon. Have a good day.